As the saying goes, all roads lead to Rome. Or, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Or, Rome was not built in a day. Okay, there are a lot of sayings about Rome, but the first one was true for me at the beginning of September when I visited this ancient city with my friends. I don't care how often men think about the Roman Empire, but unironically, I do quite a bit. Rome is one of my favorite cities to visit, and this being my third time there, I realized how there is still so much more to uncover, not just about the history of the city, but the themes crucial to it. So call it an awakening of my spiritual or religious self, but I naturally became very curious about biblical stories and was yearning to consume media about it. Some time passes, I am back home, go to Prime Video, I think you already know where this is going, and see one show recommended to me, Good Omens. I already knew about it, have the book on my TBR, and am a fan of both Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman's works, so I wanted to watch it for some time already, and I didn't know almost anything about the plot as I first wished to read the book. This being said, I genuinely don't know what pulled me to make this decision. Could be God for all I know, but I thought to myself, it wouldn't hurt to watch the first few minutes of the first episode, right? So I checked it out. And that turned into watching the whole first episode. And that turned into binging both seasons. And that turned into so far a 2-week-long obsession over everything mildly related to Good Omens, from rewatching it immediately after finishing the first watch to doing a freestyle deep dive into fan theories. This video will serve no purpose. There is nothing special about it. I just can't think about anything else in my life at the moment, so might as well make something useful out of my hyperfixation. There's so many Good Omen topics I want to cover, so I decided to start with making an overview of one of the most liked ships in the fandom, Lord Beelzebub and Gabriel, better known as the Ineffable Bureaucracy, from who they are to why they work so well together. I'm personally very confused about how to feel about the two of them. I love them together, but also don't sit well with them individually. Specifically, one of them. So, just as my feelings are a mess, this video will resemble it. I'm not here to make any profound realizations about them or the show, but more to empty my head and share my thoughts on this. Important to mention, this video will be filled with spoilers for both seasons, so in case you haven't watched everything yet, it's okay. Go watch it now. I'll wait. Come on, get those views up so we get a third season. When I started making this video, I thought it would be a short one since there isn't much to cover about this ship besides what we see in the last episode of season 2, but the more I worked on it, dramatic pause, the more I saw this was beyond just Beelzebub and Gabriel's relationship. Like the rest of the celestial beings in this show, Gabriel and Beelzebub are known figures in Abrahamic religions, so I decided to research more about them in the religious lore, not because it is integrally connected to the story or the points I'm trying to make, but because I'm a nerd, and I just wanted a reason to research Christian demonology at 1 a.m. Okay, so what do we know about these two entities? Gabriel is an archangel whose name means God is my strength, and is known as the messenger. He is the one who is responsible for announcing the will of God, and first does so in the book of Daniel. How do I pronounce Daniel? In the book of... My name is Daniel. Book of Daniel. Okay. He's the one who is responsible for announcing the will of God, and first does so in the book of Daniel, where Gabriel reveals what his vision meant. A more well-known assignment Gabriel had was the annunciation of the birth of Jesus to Mary. Unlike in the show, Gabriel is usually not portrayed as the so-called right hand of God or the supreme archangel, but rather Michael is, and Gabriel is God's left hand, which ties in nicely with how Beelzebub is seen in hell, showing us that essentially Gabriel and Beelzebub are moral opposites. When it comes to angelic hierarchies, there are 3 spheres that separate their ranks. The highest ranked angels are the seraphim, which is what Gabriel is most likely, and probably what Beelzebub was before the fall. On the other hand, Beelzebub is one of the first fallen angels. Often depicted as a fly, hence the Lord of the Flies, they're described as one of the 7 princes of hell, and besides Lucifer and Leviathan, one of the most prominent fallen angels. Beelzebub was often associated with pride and gluttony, and was connected to the idea of demonic possession, to the point where even Jesus was accused of using Beelzebub's powers to heal people. In some cases, Beelzebub was used synonymously with Lucifer or Satan, though every script describes them differently and uses different names to address them. So how does this connect to the show version of the characters? Well, it kind of doesn't. The show and the book are loosely interpreting biblical stories and characters while keeping the themes connected to them similar. Unfortunately, in the Bible, Bildad the Shuhite isn't the leading expert in shoemaking and human birth, but he is an actual character in the book of Job, and the whole minisode reflects the messages of the particular biblical story. Same with Gabriel and Beelzebub. They represent moral opposites, the bosses of heaven and hell. So how did these two opposites get together? For that, we need to go to season 1. As I mentioned, Gabriel and Beelzebub play the role of bosses to the two main characters, Crowley and Aziraphale. You would guess being a leader of heaven and hell means they are spreading the goal and mission of their sides to the world. But they kind of don't. Both of them don't really care about the heaven-hell agenda, as long as it doesn't inconvenience them. Let's start with Gabriel. Season 1 gives us a good overview of his persona and what his goal is. As the Supreme Archangel, leader of the forces of heaven, ambassador of the corporate fashion, his mission is to start Armageddon on time. Does he want Armageddon to finally make heaven rule over hell because God wills it so? No, he, like the rest of the angels, wants it for one reason only. To put it as Adam says, "You both want to end the world just to see whose gang is best?" He sees himself as a very self-righteous being, always morally in the right. Because of that, his demeanor is very calm and composed. Moreover, he doesn't show any respect for other angels, especially Aziraphale. He sees him more as a human than an angel at this point, and humans to him have always been just some lower-class creatures he finds extremely predictable. It's not that he doesn't care about the greater good. He does, but about the one he crafted in his head. Similar to other archangels we meet, Gabriel has this very brainwashed feeling to him in the way he talks and behaves. I don't think we ever saw him or other angels question what they were doing, but that can also be done in the series to show us how Aziraphale is different than them, being among the humans for so long and distanced from the heavens' politics. Gabriel is very dismissive of anything that doesn't fit into his understanding of importance. That is, until two husbands decide to thwart the great plan. His calmness crumbles and he starts losing his temper as he goes to punish Aziraphale at the end of season 1. And even then, he doesn't punish him because he colluded with the enemy or went against the will of God. But oh no, because things didn't go as Gabriel wanted them to. Okay, I didn't make this video to rant about how annoying Gabriel is, but I still had to vent. But do you know who I don't dislike as much, or rather at all? Beelzebub. Throughout the whole first season, there was not much of Beelzebub to see. They are the leader of the forces of hell, and are often portrayed as harsh and cold-hearted. However, another notable thing to me about them was how little they cared about what happens. Beelzebub always looked very bored, as if they were forced to be there and genuinely uninterested in how Armageddon goes, as long as it's done. Even after it fails and they have a trial for Crowley, they don't look disappointed, just inconvenienced. Also interesting to notice, Hell did have a trial and constantly asked Crowley if he had anything to say. Meanwhile, Heaven, or better said Gabriel, didn't let Aziraphale defend himself at all, but immediately wanted to cast him into hellfire. Awesome. But alas, at the end of season 1, we finally get to Gabriel and Beelzebub's first meetup, and from here on, the rest is history. However, let's still cover how they got together. To finish off on season 1, both Gabriel and Beelzebub wish for Adam to restart Armageddon. Once again, not because of what heaven or hell stand for, but because they just want to battle it out, to find out who's the dopest of them all. I believe Gabriel was the one who wished to win and show his superiority, and Beelzebub wanted it to be done, so they no longer had to think about it. Already from here, they both had similar goals in mind, but approached them from different sides. So blah blah blah, some time passes, and oh no, something is going down in the up? Gabriel is missing, and some dude named Jim becomes an assistant bookseller? Let's search for a clue. Already off the bat, Beelzebub looks more alive in season 2. Can you call them alive? What type of existence do angels and demons have? Anyway, they're more impatient, more excited, and really in need of finding Gabriel, who, at the moment, is taking a big shot of hot cocoa, or more accurately, Jim is. I need to sidetrack here and ask, who is Jim? I don't want to add more on top of his existential crisis, but if we follow the tangent that identity is equal to memory, as Good Omens kind of explains in some scenes, then Jim is not Gabriel, meaning his behavior should not be seen as Gabriel's. Which means Gabriel is still I'm just asking because I'm having trouble understanding Jim. He confuses me because he's a doofus and I like him, but if he is Gabriel, I need him to stay as far away from me as possible. Back to the story, we shall skip until the last episode because this is where the ship materializes and becomes canon. Gabriel gets his memory back and we learn about all the times he and Beelzebub met. In the beginning, it was just the call of Armageddon Part 2, but then something happened. Or did it? Was there any groundbreaking moment the two of them had that made them fall endlessly in love with each other? Or was it something more subtle, something more organic, something more ineffable? Whatever it was, we can say with certainty there was one thing crucial to their story. They could relate to one another. As we already established, both of them were leaders, and even though they're on morally opposite sides, this initially brings them closer to one another. As Gabriel says, it's good to know there's someone who understands. I previously mentioned how angels behave like they're brainwashed due to the lack of thought that is put into their actions. But in a way, they are conditioned to behave in a certain manner. Even more so for Gabriel and Beelzebub. We see this when Gabriel complains how everyone in heaven thinks it is his fault for Armageddon failing. Quote, like I make the rules. They don't feel appreciated in their head offices and get a sense of alienation due to the reality of their jobs, as we see when Beelzebub asks one demon out of nowhere, quote, "Wouldn't it just be nice if someone told you what a good job you're doing?" Power plays an important role in both heaven and hell, with both angels and demons constantly searching for it. During Gabriel's trial, Metatron and the rest of the archangels don't question what was it that made it come to this, but immediately look at who will be next in power, further proven by Michael and Uriel's bickering after Gabriel disappears. They're not there to befriend one another. They're there to keep their positions or gain a higher one. I'm not sure anymore if I'm explaining a fictional universe or a capitalist society, but anyway, due to the nature of their jobs and positions, they will feel separated from others. They will feel and be alone. And who can relate to your struggles more than someone in the same situation as you? Gabriel and Beelzebub don't meet up for a specific purpose. They just enjoy each other's company. Together, they feel less lonely. They know neither of them are asking for anything in return for their time or have any ulterior motives, and because of that, they can relax with one another, which is not something they have the liberty to do often, or maybe ever. They feel safe and appreciated by one another. I like to hate on Gabriel as much as anyone else, but when he said, "No one's ever given me anything before," that hurt, but also made his relationship with Beelzebub even more special. So, what is it exactly? What is so special about this ship? How did people start shipping them so early on? Is it just because Gabriel and Beelzebub are cute together, ooh woo? Or is it more about how this relationship was shown to us and other characters in the show? Spoiler alert, it's both. After we and the characters in the show find out about their relationship, both heaven and hell threaten there will be big consequences for their decisions. But surprise, surprise, Gabriel and Beelzebub don't care. This is where for a moment I forget how much I'm triggered by Gabriel's existence, because this scene is too cute. There was always a theme of choosing sides in Good Omens, mainly shown through the two main characters, such as Aziraphale choosing whether to trust Heaven or Crowley in Season 1. I will not go into the end of Season 2, thank you very much. However, unlike for the Ineffable Husbands, here this choice doesn't hold the same intensity, since the focus characters are not conflicted about their role in the world, which I will come back to later. So, Gabriel and Beelzebub are given a choice to either run away and never come back, or face the punishment, and in the blink of an eye, both of them choose to leave, followed by the most adorable confession ever.
Where Beelzebub is my heaven.
And where you are, my sweet, is forever my hell.
If we observe this scene, we see it is very anticlimactic. Sure, heaven and hell make their threats, but because neither Gabriel nor Beelzebub take them seriously, neither do we as viewers. There is no drama or big swoon-worthy moments where the two of them confess their love and admiration in front of everybody, sealing it with a kiss to be remembered for an eternity. They hold hands, stare into each other's eyes, sing their song, tell their respectful sides to frick off, and if that's not the most heartwarming scene ever. They don't need a kiss or anything we're used to seeing as a declaration of love on our screens. It is much more powerful seeing them sing their song while staring lovingly into each other's eyes. This show does a great job of showing us how characters love each other without the need to declare it. Gabriel and Beelzebub never label what they are, but to us and the rest of the characters it is clear. They're in love. And they don't need to say it with words, because they're saying it much louder with their actions. The show almost makes fun of the grand displays of love and how they're portrayed normally in media, letting us see this more quote-unquote ordinary portrayal of love. Every time Crowley or Aziraphale try to make Maggie and Nina fall in love using tricks from Jane Austen novels, it always backfires, and in the end, the ship that survived is the one that was about two celestial beings relating to one another and accidentally finding love in a place they would never expect to. But wait, there's more. What Gabriel and Beelzebub did was more than just fight for their relationship. They're essential to how Crowley and Aziraphale's relationship might develop in the future. They show their ineffable husbands, or maybe more importantly to Aziraphale, how yes, it is possible for a demon and an angel to be together and not care about heaven or hell. But that's the catch. One must not care. Wouldn't it be nice to end this video on a good note? It would, wouldn't it? That's why I won't. To follow the steps of Season 2. After all that was said, I'm still sizzling a bit. I see comments all the time saying how Crowley and Aziraphale are two idiots pining for one another for 6,000 years and still don't know how to act upon it, unlike Gabriel and Beelzebub, who just said a big F you to both heaven and hell and ran away together. And yes, all of that is true, but some things must be understood and taken into consideration when discussing this. Yes, being a boss of either heaven or hell is difficult, but let's remember one of the most defining traits of Gabriel and Beelzebub in the whole show. They don't care. And that is why it was easy for them to leave everything behind. They don't believe in what heaven and hell represent. They don't give a damn about their 9-to-5 job or the mission of the company, or all those reminders about the team building exercises that will happen on Friday after the workday is complete, it is easy to give up something you never cared about. On the other hand, a Zerophil thinks about the greater good all the time, and this causes him to make choices that might not benefit him, but believes are good for others, which essentially is what he does in the heartbreaking season ending. In episode 3 in season 2, when there is a flashback of a Zerophil and Crowley in Scotland, there is a discussion on poverty and how we are not born on equal footing, enabling ones and disabling others when trying to live. This idea can be applied to heaven and hell. Archangels of higher ranks constantly diminish those of the lower ranks, from a Zerophil to Muriel, and I don't even have to talk about hell. And since Gabriel and Beelzebub are in the highest possible position there is, we can't really say they are brave to step away from their positions. They're entitled to it, unlike a Zerophil and Crowley, who always have some superiors they have to obey. From the start, Ineffable Bureaucracy had more chance of success than Ineffable Husbands did. This ship also ties in nicely with how the authors of this story wanted us to see heaven and hell, as two sides of one whole. Gabriel is an archangel, Beelzebub is a demon, they're on opposite sides, but once you put them together, their labels disappear, and suddenly you realize how similar they are. The same way hell is flawed, heaven has issues as well. For one last time, I want to complain a teeny tiny bit more about Gabriel. Why I'm still keeping my distance from the ship is because I didn't get a closure on how Gabriel behaved towards the Zerophil at the end of season 1. Yes, Gabriel and Beelzebub are adorable together and he looks much more relaxed and less bastardy with them, but he still is one at the end of season 2. He never apologized to Zerophil for what he did. Jim did, and it wasn't even his fault. I don't want to be petty because I am happy Gabriel got his happy ending. He found what mattered to him the most, and that's beautiful. But imagine being Crowley in this scenario, where the love of your life's former boss goes off with no consequences with your former boss to a place where you always wanted to go with your angel, and to top it off, that former boss not only was very eager to cast your husband into hellfire, but also belittle him in every way possible. But let's just forget about that for a second, that's not important at the moment. Where was I? Oh yeah, Ineffable Bureaucracy, so cute! I will have my rant about Gabriel at any given time of the day, but I'm thankful to him for showing us what a healthy relationship looks like, and what possibilities one has if one learns to stand up for themselves and follow their heart's desires. In his and Beelzebub's case, love conquers all. As I was going through Tumblr to look into what the fans have to say about this ship, I found a lot of comments saying how nice it is to see a more quiet and gentle representation of a relationship. Love in general in this show doesn't have a clear starting point. It gradually appears, both for Gabriel and Beelzebub, and the Zerophil and Crowley's 6,000 year slow burn, angst, enemies to friends to lover story. To summarize everything, they're cute. Ineffable Bureaucracy is cute. That's it, that's my point. They showed us an example of a healthy and chill relationship and gave us hope for a Zerophil and Crowley to finally get their own happy ending as well, and that is more than enough for me to like this ship. But the reason why in the end I do absolutely love them is because Gabriel managed to prove his past self wrong, and boy do I love when that archangel is wrong. He learned that, in fact, you can refuse to be who you are. In your face, Gabriel. This was a mess from start to finish to script, so I hope this video made some sense. I really am interested in how others feel about Ineffable Bureaucracy, since during my sleepless nights on YouTube watching video essays about Crowley and a Zerophil, I didn't find many videos on Gabriel and Beelzebub, so let me know how you feel about them. I hope to do more Good Omens related content in the future, so until then, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!